Recently, Congress held a pretty historic hearing on UFOs, but in my opinion, the whole thing's kinda sad. Now, let me be clear here. I am not someone who goes around making fun of people who believe in aliens, or even people who believe the aliens are already here, watching us with the same morbid fascination most of us feel when we stumble upon Fear Factor in the dark depths of Hulu. I want to believe in this stuff. No one wants aliens to be real more than me. In middle school, I didn't need friends. I had Fox Mulder and Dana Scully, and my preferred history class was Ancient Aliens. But even though pop culture has worn out the topic about as much as this desk chair has worn out the hardwood flooring beneath it, it's important to remember that it's all based around one of the great questions in life, and it does have merits. There's two if you think about it. What happens when we die, and are we alone in the universe? So seeing the conversation go from Las Vegas conventions and Star Trek reruns to official government hearings has been absolutely thrilling to watch over these past couple years. Yet after the most recent high-profile hearing featuring 3 former government officials testifying about their experiences with UFOs, as well as their knowledge of a crash retrieval and reverse engineering program for craft of exotic origin, I'm left feeling unhappy. Because if what's being claimed is true, and this is a big if, it could mean negative implications for all of us. You, me, Logan Paul. Maybe he deserves it though. And when I say negative, I want to be clear that I don't mean dire, but at the same time, it's a little disheartening. On top of this, the whole way the situation is being reacted to on the internet, along with a certain key aspect that was missing from the hearing, has me wondering how much longer this topic is going to be taken seriously in the way that it has been. Some say it's gaining momentum. I'm worried it's running out of steam. And if people stop caring about this subject, their representatives in Congress might stop caring about it too. And then we may never get to the truth of what these spooky flying objects really are. So let's dig into the hearing. We got some crazy stuff to talk about. But first, just so we're on the same page, here's a little background on why the hearing is taking place and who exactly its 3 witness and testimony givers really are for the Patrick Stars of this world. The Congressional hearing this past July was the latest push by folks on Capitol Hill to determine whether UFOs, or UAPs as they're now being called, pose a threat to national security. Just as the Founding Fathers envisioned, no doubt. It's the latest chapter in a saga that began back in 2020, the year everyone was kind of like, fuck everything, including the Department of Defense. On April 27th, they confirmed to the public for the first time that unidentified aerial phenomena are real, and that a couple of videos circulating online were real too, videos that feature what appear to be craft of unknown origin flying in American airspace. You could think of them as like the first paparazzi videos of an alien. If it's an alien, jury's still kinda out. But the objects allegedly break the known laws of physics and fly circles around state-of-the-art fighter jets. I'll let you decide if you want to pitch this to TMZ. In connection to these videos is an important character in our story, David Fravor. A former pilot, he claims to have been flying with the guys who took this video during a 2004 training mission, and they all must have been feeling a little snacky as they were chasing this thing down, because the only way any of them will describe it as is being like a Tic Tac. White, featureless, no signs of propulsion, and it zips around faster than a tabby cat chasing a laser pointer. He was witness number 1 at the hearing this past July, there to answer questions about his experiences and of course, give the Tic Tac company more free publicity. After the DoD confirmed the video's authenticity in 2020, a little something called the UAP Task Force was created. Its purpose to gain insight into and understand the origin of UAPs. This is where our next critical character in the hearing comes from, David Grush. I guess aliens really like people named David. Grush is definitely the juiciest of the attendees in this hearing. Everything he says sounds like stuff straight out of X-Files lore. Like, everyone who makes Ancient Aliens is gasping with relief because season 18 actually has something new to talk about for once. Grush claims that, while working in the UAP task force, he stumbled upon some information that not only confirms the government knows more about UAPs than they're letting on, but that they've actually got a collection of the craft. and they're reverse engineering them. There's a lot more crazy stuff he says, but I'll get into that in a second. The next and last witness in the July hearing was Ryan Graves, another former pilot with over a decade of service in the US Navy. He claims to have witnessed on radar, as well as talked to pilots who confirm the existence of things in the sky that they encounter on a regular basis that defy explanation. Like at one point, during an air combat training mission, a pilot claimed they saw something that looked like a dark gray cube inside of a clear sphere, which is certainly a bold design choice. I would think that if you want to spy on weaponized vehicles of war, you'd want to be a little more discreet, but who knows? And that's basically it all in a nutshell. As far as I understand it, the hearing went on for a little over 2 hours, the entirety of which is posted to YouTube for anyone to watch. I'll post a link in the description for those of you looking for a little something different for Friday family movie night. I watched the whole hearing myself, and like I said at the beginning, some of what's revealed leaves me a little disheartened. Now, I stress that everything I'm going to go over only matters if the folks giving their testimonies are telling the truth. There is a chance, a large chance, one or all of them has been misled, or they are being paid to lie, or they're just taking a joke with their buddies way too far. So take all of this with a healthy dose of skepticism. But there's a point in the hearing where David Grush is asked very directly if UAPs have inflicted harm on other human beings. And he says yes.
Has any of the activity been aggressive, been hostile in your reports?
I know of multiple colleagues of mine that got physically injured, and the activity, and I got
by UAPs or by people within the federal government?
both.
Okay.
Great. Add that to the list, I guess, of stuff we've got to look out for. File it between assault rifles and added sugar. In all seriousness, though, it is pretty crazy that he said that. It invokes a whole host of questions, like were the UAPs provoked, or were the injuries an accident? I really want to hope there's more to what he said there than just aliens are evil. I know it's a long shot. That even Star Trek, which is like pop culture's most optimistic view of what the future could be like, has us coming into contact with hostile alien races from time to time. But I've always wanted to believe that to get to a level of technology where you're hopping between stars, like a college kid hops between bars, you've got to work through some stuff first. You gotta like grow up a bit, if you know what I'm saying. Also, aliens being evil is so lame. Like, it's predictable, it's cliched. I don't want to discover that the real world has the plot of a Hollywood B-movie. Another thing that's suggested by Ryan Graves is that only about 5% of UAPs are reported by pilots because they're afraid of getting made fun of, which is insane to me. Are there like thousands of these things zipping around on like the equivalent of extraterrestrial highways? So if they have like a little road rage or something, they're right in our backyard already. Nice. We'd be done before we'd even known what hit us. Like when Kim's Convenience got canceled halfway through season 5, just done. But if there's so many, what do they got? Some kind of like stealth technology or something? Maybe they're all dressed in camouflage or something. Maybe all the ETs shop at Bass Pro Shop. Or maybe the craft can like bend light around it, which, according to Einstein's theory of relativity, happens when space curves. If you can distort gravity to levitate, perhaps you could do the same with light. Which brings me to perhaps the saddest thing of all. According to David Fravor, these things just shatter science as we understand it. He claims the Tic Tac spacecraft in 2004 flew around his state-of-the-art FA-18F fighter jet like it had cheat codes enabled. Speed, stamina, maneuverability, all infinitely maxed out. If there really is an alien flying this thing, they gotta be looking at our jet fighters the same way we look at the Model T. Or the way we look at these two cats driving this plastic toy car. You think at least some aliens talk about us the same way we talk about our pets? Oh, look at the little humans in their little fighter jets with their little guns. Oh, they're so cute. Yes, they are. God, Independence Day was a load of bullshit. It's a very sobering, humbling thought. You'd think more people would be scared, but sadly, the internet seems to have reacted to this hearing with a collective shrug. Now, I'm not talking about UFO enthusiasts on Reddit, or all the exhausted producers behind Ancient Aliens. I'm talking about people like your parents, the general public, okay? I actually tried to have a conversation with my mom about the hearing, and the entire time I was talking, she just kind of looked at me like, Didn't the newest season of Only Murders in the Building drop its first episode today? She just didn't give a crap. And to me, it almost perfectly encapsulates how a lot of people on social media are reacting to this. The government basically confirms that aliens with spacecrafts are real, and the collective reaction is just, okay, but I still have to go to work tomorrow. Aliens are real. Yeah, I know, lower the cost of living. If you look at the engagement on some of these posts, it's in the hundreds of thousands, so clearly a lot of people are feeling the same about this. And unfortunately, it does make a fair amount of sense. There is just so many pressing issues right now that this whole thing feels really like nothing more than a distraction. Little green men aren't going to pay your rent. They're not going to stop your job from potentially getting automated by AI in the next couple of years. They're not going to fix the wealth gap. If anything, the rich are getting richer off these aliens. I would think that a government outsourcing exotic tech to aerospace companies for reverse engineering is gonna get their breakthroughs sold back to them for a fat block of cold hard cash. So the relative indifference is justified. I think another reason people are acting like this is just because they're tired. Take your pick of what's done it. COVID, looming climate change, persistent social justice issues, that time Will Smith assaulted Chris Rock. It's become a cliche to talk about how wild these past few years have been. I actually remember back during quarantine getting a little irritated with people who kept saying, oh, these are such crazy times we live in, aren't they? Because after a while it was like, no shit, Sherlock. Shocking random events have become like a trope in the great saga that is humanity. Like the writers on high know ratings are falling, so they're just trying to see what sticks, which is why they're writing like they're high. However, like I mentioned in the introduction, people not caring still matters in a big way because this topic needs people to care about it if we're ever going to get to the bottom of it. Congress is supposed to represent their voters, their interests, their concerns. If their voters don't care and they're repeatedly stonewalled in their attempts to find anything out, which, based on what's said in the hearing, has already happened, my concern is this topic will lose its urgency and get pushed back on the priority list. Will we ever find out the truth that that's the case? Or is this all going to be some cool story we tell our grandkids, and their descendants get to find out in 70 years when this is all declassified? I hope I'm wrong, and that interest in Congress remains high, but it won't stop me from worrying. There is something, though, that could easily get people to care. It could get him to care a lot. It's the last and probably the biggest reason why I'm saddened by the hearing, because it hasn't happened yet. Despite all the speculation, despite all the flashy meetings and bone-chilling claims, there's still no irrefutable proof. No pieces of metal, no alien bodies, no crystal clear photos in a world where almost everyone has an HD camera in their pockets. These people took to the stand and made some very bold claims, and yet their evidence is classified documents no one can see or fuzzy-ass recordings like these ones from 6 years ago. Grainy, blurry, colorless videos of smudges that could easily be faked. Yeah, I know the Pentagon confirmed they were real, and I'm inclined to believe they're telling at least what they think is the truth, but 2004, the year the Tic Tac video was recorded, was also the same year The Incredibles came out. Like, computer animation wasn't some primitive technology at the time, and that's if the video was faked then. What if it was made 10 years later? So unfortunately, the possibility for fakery is there. We won't know if Congress doesn't keep looking into it, but it is totally possible that this is a fake video meant to make us, and maybe even the Pentagon, think we are looking at an alien craft recorded with advanced equipment. It may also mean David Fravor deserves an Oscar, and that right now is the best evidence we've got. We need better. The public needs irrefutable physical proof they can see and touch and can't clearly be faked if they're gonna stop posting Simpson memes about the lack of proof online, because extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Somewhat going along with this, another thing that concerns me, particularly with David Grush, is that a lot of weight seems to be being given to people's characters when determining whether what they're saying is true or not. And this seems to be strongly informing whistleblowers' opinions on the matter, even if they've never seen anything themselves. For example, David Grush has some of the most mind-blowing revelations to give, but his whole argument is based on, quote, information I have been given by individuals with a long-standing track record of legitimacy and service to this country, many of whom also shared compelling evidence in the form of photography, official documentation, and classified oral testimony. So one of the people testifying on aliens existing hasn't actually seen any himself. Now that's a problem, because I've got 3 counter-arguments for his compelling evidence: Photoshop, Microsoft Word, and some convincing acting skills. It gives a counter-explanation to everything he claims. It doesn't strengthen your testimony for me when one of your 3 perspectives is based on, well, he told me so and I trust him a lot. Because what if this is all some office prank that got completely out of hand? It started as an April Fool's joke and people just kept going with it and didn't know when to stop. Next thing they knew, oops. But I hope I'm wrong. In David Grush's defense, he did claim that he presented all the classified aspects of his findings to the Inspector General, and that they were deemed legitimate and urgent.
So the Inspector General of the Intelligence Services of the United States has the information you've got.
Yes.
And more importantly, the Inspector General made a determination about the credibility of your complaint.
They found my complaint urgent and credible for the intelligence committees.
So perhaps this point in my video will age poorly and better stuff will come soon. And that's about all I've got to say on this topic right now. If you're a human, well, I hope you found some of my points compelling. If you're an alien, well then I hope you got a good laugh. Should you be planning to invade Earth, I hope you at least remember that and consider sparing me. I'm a strong worker. I can comfortably lift up to 10 pounds. That's 5 in either hand. Not the best of cooks, but I only burn about 1/3 of what I make. I'd get used to the thought of eating PB&J if I were you. So if you're out there, evil alien overlords, may the Force not be with you.